Good day to all students of BA24 Organizational Behavior. So our topic is all about attitudes and job satisfaction. Okay, so last meeting we were able to discuss personality and values, and of course yung perception and attribution, and how this principles of personality, values, perception, and attribution affects our behavior that we are exhibiting in the workplace. Okay, so by discussing attitudes and satisfaction, we will be able to look into the association of attitudes and job satisfaction to organizational behavior. Okay, so our behavior at work often depends on how we feel about being there. Okay, and sometimes what people think and feel about work in general and about their jobs and organizations in particular affects not only how they behave at work, but even yung kanilang overall well-being. And at some point, this in turn reflects how happy, healthy, and prosperous they are. So, the thoughts and feelings people have about their work, their jobs, and their organization determine how they experience work. So, it's important for managers that we make sense of how people, or kailangan nating maintindihan that uh, sometimes or most of the time people behave depends on understanding their work attitudes. Okay? So nakalagay din dyan yung job satisfaction. Importante rin yan for all managers. Why? Because if we have satisfied and motivated employees, napaka importante or this is imperative for contemporary business, and it is also a key factor that separates successful companies from those who are not successful. So pag sinasabi nating or attitudes, we are referring to work attitudes. So these are the feelings we have toward different aspects of the work environment. And pag sinasabi nating work attitudes, ito yung perception mo, okay, belief mo, yung mga sa mga various aspects ng mga work environment. Okay, so in this chapter, we will look at how we will look at employee attitudes and how attitudes can be linked to behavior of employees, and how employee satisfaction or dissatisfaction with their jobs affects the workplace. So we have here 2, 4, 6, 7 objectives. So ito yung mga ini-expect natin na mga learning outcomes in this session. Contrast the three components of an attitude, summarize the relationship between attitudes and behavior, compare the major job attitudes, identify the two approaches for measuring job satisfaction, summarize the main causes of job satisfaction, identify outcomes of job satisfaction, and identify also 4 employee responses to job satisfaction. Okay, so let us define what is attitude. Pag sinasabi nating attitudes, these are evaluative statements that are either favorable or unfavorable about objects, people, or events. Okay? So, pag sinasabi nating attitude, it reflects how you feel about something. For example, yung statement na when you say, I like my job. So, you are expressing your attitude about your work. Okay? So, that's an attitude towards work. When you are saying, I like my job or I hate my job, I don't like my job, that's an attitude. Okay? So, attitudes are complex. And if you ask people about attitudes towards religion, magkakaiba yung mga yan. Even to a certain personality. For example, yung singer na si Lady Gaga. So, pag tinanong mo sila about Lady Gaga, iba-iba rin yung kanilang attitudes. Okay? And also, pag sinasabi mo na what is your attitude towards your organization, We will be receiving responses, simple responses, and also different responses. So in here, to understand better, no, or to fully understand attitudes, we must consider itong three properties or three fundamental components of attitudes. Yeah, so we have here cognitive, we have here affective and behavioral component. Okay. So typically, kapag sinasabi nating attitude, we have here three components: cognition, yung affect, at saka yung behavior. Okay. For example, the statement, my pay is low. Mababa ang aking sweldo. So that is a cognitive component of an attitude. So it's a description of or belief in the way things are. So this is more of an opinion or the belief segment of an attitude. Okay, so after nung cognitive, cognitive will set the stage for a more critical part of an attitude, which is affective. So affect, pag sinasabi natin affective, is the emotional or feeling segment of an attitude reflected in the statement. For example, kanya, may pace law, that is cognitive. Yung affective component naman is, I am angry over how little I am paid. So makikita mo na yung emotional component or emotional side. Yung cognitive kanina, iniisip mo lang na mababa yung sweldo. Pero ngayon, yung itong affective na, sinasabi mo na galit ako kasi mababa ang aking sweldo. And then, yung affective side can now affect or can now lead to the behavioral outcomes, which is the behavioral component of an attitude, which is being described as an intention to behave a certain way towards someone or something. So let's go back to our example. Ano? My pay is low, cognitive. I am angry over how little I am paid, affective. So ano na yung behavioral component? So pwedeng sabihin mo na, I'm going to look for another job that pays better or mas mataas yung aking sweldo. Okay, so viewing attitudes as having three components, cognition, affect, and behavior, help us understand their complexity and the potential relationship between attitudes and behavior. Okay? So, yon yung mga various component. Actually, etong mga to, cognition, affect, behavioral are intertwined. Okay? Connected yung mga yan, especially itong cognitive and affective. Most of the time, what you think is going to affect how you feel. Okay? And even how you feel also affect how you think to certain situation, objects, people, or events. And ang nangyayari dyan is what you think and what you feel will be reflected in your behavior. Okay. Okay, so to understand better itong components ng attitude, we have here an example. So this exhibit illustrates how the three components of an attitude are related. So we have here an example wherein an employee didn't get a promotion he thought he deserved. Okay? So makikita mo yun sa cognitive. So yung supervisor mo raw gave a promotion to a coworker who deserved it less than you. So cognition is yung cognitive part ng attitude. Sasabihin mo na ngayon na your supervisor is unfair. Unfair yung aking supervisor. So this will fall on cognition, on the cognition part. Okay? And makikita mo na sa affective, since you were not promoted, okay, anong mangyayari sa affective part or affective component, you will now start to dislike your supervisor. And it will be manifested, yung pagka-dislike mo sa behavior or dun sa supervisor mo will be manifested in your behavior. So what could be the possible action? So we have here, pwede kang maghanap ng ibang trabaho or you will be complaining your supervisor to anyone who would listen. So therefore, because of this attitude towards the unfair promotion, you will be disliking your supervisor, and you might be thinking for looking for other work or complaining to members or to other members of the organization. Okay, so as in general, this employee will have a negative attitude towards the supervisor. Okay, so ganun intertwine yung mga components ng attitude. Okay. Now the question is, does behavior always follow from attitudes? Pina-follow ba ng behavior yung ating attitude? Okay. Most of the time, it did. Okay. Attitude significantly predict human behavior. Okay. There have been studies or research or ina-assume nila that behavior nagro-root yan sa ating mga attitude. So whatever our attitudes is, it predicts future behavior. Okay? So the attitude that people hold determine what they do. Okay? So yun yung pag-uusapan natin. But there is this researcher, si Festinger, okay, Leon Festinger, argued that attitudes follow behavior. Kasi according to him, yung daw attitudes, not although consistent siya, but sometimes people change what they say so it does not contradict what they do. Okay. So, sinasabi ni Leon Festinger na since iba yung ginagawa ko, I might change yung sinabi ko, yung attitude na yan. Okay? So that hindi mag-contradict doon sa ginawa ko. Okay. Although, sinasabi ng mga researchers na consistent naman yung attitude to behavior natin. But sometimes, ang nangyari dito, merong mga gusto nating i-correct minsan yung mga attitude natin na hindi aligned doon sa ating mga sinasabi. So, meron tayong tinatawag na cognitive dissonance. So, ang nangyayari dyan is it explains why people change their attitudes or even their behaviors when they are introduced to a new and contradicting information. Okay? So, tinatawag natin ito na cognitive dissonance theory. So, ano ba itong cognitive dissonance theory? Any incompatibility an individual might perceive between two or more attitudes or between behavior and attitude. So this was proposed by Leon Festinger. Okay. Another definition of cognitive dissonance theory is a feeling of discomfort when our beliefs or attitudes don't line up with our actions. So it's cognitive dissonance or CDT theory, cognitive dissonance theory, okay, o yung cognitive dissonance, let us define that first, is this is an uncomfortable feeling caused by holding two contradictory ideas simultaneously. So this dissonance is the tension that arises from having two conflicting thoughts in our head at the same time. Okay? Dissonance refers to the personal tension or stress experienced when an individual actions contradict or it is inconsistent with his or her values or beliefs. So according to Festinger, he refers to inconsistency as dissonance and consistency as consonance. So the theory of cognitive dissonance is composed of two parts. First is the presence of dissonance, which will cause a person to try to eliminate it and achieve consonance. Second is When dissonance is present, a person will avoid situations and stimuli that would add to their distress. So dissonance arises every day naman sa ating buhay, especially if there are uh, true interactions with other people and information constantly being exchanged. So in the cognitive dissonance theory, the Festinger, he argued that any form of inconsistency is uncomfortable and that individuals will attempt to reduce the dissonance. Let me show you an example. Ano? We are experiencing dissonance in our daily lives. So let me show an example. Ito. Okay, for example, yung babae dito, alam ko napanood na ninyo tong movie na to, ano? Panood nyo na? Okay. So example, itong you know that the cheating and using unfair means in an examination is not correct. It's unethical, right? Okay? And alam naman natin na wag na tayong mag-cheat during examination. We should just try our best instead of achieving results in an ethical way. But sometimes because of situations, kasi gusto mong makapasa, ano pa, gusto mo na hindi ikaw yung pinakamababa yung score para hindi ka mapahiya, she cheats anyway, kung ano to eh. So, meron nangyayari na cognitive dissonance dyan, alam mong mali. Tapos yung action mo, nag-cheat ka pa rin. So, there will be cognitive dissonance that's going to happen in this situation. Another example is yung, yan, she's well aware that smoking is decreasing his lifespan day by day and pose danger to her health. Okay, alam niya yan. Naniniwala siya doon. Okay? Or meron siyang idea that it could lessen yung kanyang lifespan and also merong mga health repercussions ang paninigarilyo. Pero bakit nag-smoke pa rin siya daily? So, this lady, merong nangyayari ng cognitive dissonance on her part because alam kong mali, alam kong dangerous itong paninigarilyo, pero naninigarilyo pa rin ako. Okay. Another example is yung sa pagda-diet or yung ating food. So, alam natin na in order for us to have a healthy life, we have to eat healthy food. Okay? So, we have to avoid yung mga processed food, junk foods. But, okay, sometimes we are favoring or we are eating too much of these stuffs or these processed foods or junk foods. So, there is a cognitive dissonance na nangyayari. Okay, dito na naman, alam mong healthy or kung gusto mong maging healthy, you have to eat healthy food but you are not doing it. You are eating mga fast food yung mga kinakain. Another, for example, sa organization, okay, merong parang good and bad spirit ngayon din, di ba, nangyayari. So, you shouldn't be stealing those office supplies. Okay? That's the attitude or belief. Pero yung action niya, what's the big deal? You deserve to get a few privileges sometimes. So, kumukuha pa rin siya ng mga office supplies. So, there is the cognitive dissonance. Ano ba talaga? Okay, naguguluhan ngayon yung isip mo. Ito yung paniniwala ko, tapos ito yung ginawa ko. So, when your attitude and your action do not match, nagkakaroon tayo ng tinatawag na cognitive dissonance. Okay? And at some point, when we have cognitive dissonance, we try to reduce etong dissonance. If there are inconsistency, if there is a large inconsistency, okay, or a big inconsistency in our actions, in our belief, we will try to reduce the dissonance. So we have here three ways to decrease the dissonance of our or the inconsistency of our action and our belief. So we have here could be change belief, change action, or change perception of action so that we could reduce the dissonance. So we go back to our example, no? Yung sa smoking daily. Okay. So she smokes 1 pack a day. So there is a dissonance already kasi alam mong hindi healthy yung paninigarilyo. It could also decrease your lifespan, but she's still smoking. So tulad ng pinakita ko kanina, yung tatlong way to reduce the dissonance: change belief, change action, and change perception of action. So, like example, okay, change of action. For example, if a young woman is an active smoker and watches a commercial about the millions of deaths that are caused from lung cancer each year, so you will be reacting, or she will be reacting in a particular way, di ba? So, nakita niya, maraming namamatay ng lung cancer, maraming nagkakasakit. So, anong gagawin niya? Dun sa dissonance na yan, dun sa change of action, she might change her behavior, di ba? And quit smoking. Ayoko nang mag-smoke because it could impose danger to my health. So, by quitting smoking, she will now return to consistency with the cognition that smoking is bad for you. Okay? So, yun yung attitude niya, no? Yun yung cognitive component ng attitude. So, smoking is bad for you. Okay. So, change of action. Ayoko na. I quit. Okay. Another way is to change the belief. Okay. So, maybe this woman can provide herself with new beliefs about smoking by researching the positives or the positive side of smoking and analyzing other habits that are much worse than hers. So by doing this, her beliefs are now consistent with her smoking behavior. So what could be yung example ng mga change of belief? Magre-research siya. Hindi naman lahat. Or pwede niyang sabihin na hindi lang naman smoking ang nakapag-cause ng mga sakit. Okay? Based on my research, kung kuna na, based on some studies. And para mabago yung kanyang paniniwala, yung kanyang cognition that smoking is bad. Okay? And lastly, yung change of perception of action. So, pwede rin na this woman can change her perception of the act of smoking. To do this, she could tell herself, yes, naninigarilyo ako, but the good side is it calms my nerves and help me with my anxiety. Di ba? Or yes, I smoke, but I do not smoke enough to get lung cancer. Pakunti-kunti lang naman yung aking naubos na sigarilyo. Okay? So I do not have to worry about that, kukunana. So by doing this, she has changed her perception of smoking and she will return to consonance. So, nalilesan ngayon yung yung dissonance by using these 3 ways or methods. Another example, sa organization naman. So, yung organization merong 1-hour lunch policy. Okay? So, ikaw, for example, you adhere to the policy. That's your attitude. You have to follow the policy na 1 hour lang dapat ang lunch. Pero yung mga iba, okay, they take a longer lunch than 1 hour. Okay? Nag-exceed sila. Okay. So, just like what I mentioned kanina, the theory of cognitive dissonance proposes that people have a motivational drive to reduce dissonance by changing their attitudes, beliefs, and behavior, or by justifying or rationalizing them. So in here, in this moment, meron ng cognitive dissonance na nangyayari. Why? Because sabi nila na 1-hour lunch policy, tapos ako lang naman ata sumusunod, yung iba hindi naman sinusunod. And as if the company or the supervisor does not seem to address the issue. Okay? Pero ikaw, ang paniniwala mo is, you should only take 1 hour at lunch because it is stated in the manual. Okay? Yun yung policy. Okay? So, pero nakikita mo na parang yung company seems that they are okay with it. So, you can see now that there is a conflict, okay, regarding what to do or what to follow. So, what you are experiencing at that moment is cognitive dissonance. Okay? So meron ng two conflicting thoughts in your mind at the same time. So from this example, you believe you should only take an hour lunch because that is the right thing to do. But it appears that the company is okay with you taking more than an hour lunch. So the only thing that could happen now is for you to work through that cognitive dissonance, and that is exactly what we are discussing in this lesson. Okay. So how are we going to address now the cognitive dissonance? So we might change our action, change our behavior. So the first aspect we can look at is changing our action or behavior. So if we have this kind of internal conflict, we can at times change our behavior to help us deal with conflict at hand. So in the case of having longer lunch hour, we might decide we too can take a longer lunch and thus eliminate the cognitive dissonance that is present in our minds. So by removing one of our conflicting issues in a sense of making a decision or choice between the two, we leave ourselves with no choice and thus wala ng conflict. So by we justify our behavior by changing the conflicting cognition. So okay naman pala na mag 1 hour. I might follow also. Sundin ko na rin sila, no? Kahit mag-extend ako ng more than an hour. Okay? So, yon. Another example would be yung tinatawag na we justify our behavior by adding new cognitions. Okay, so we go back again to our example, ano? For our issue that we have been talking about, we might start to believe that the people that take the lunch longer than 1 hour, maybe they are working late each day. And that is why they take longer lunch. And maybe the company is okay with that because nag-go overtime naman sila. So in this sense, we are adding a new cognition to the conflict. That one justified the cognitive dissonance that you had going on in your mind. Okay? So, pwede rin na we justify our behavior by changing conflicting cognition. Okay? So, we might think na yung mga nagla-lunch ng more than hour is hindi sila magtatagal sa kumpanya. Okay? So, they are not there to be long. So, they are showing na the company doesn't care about it. Okay? So, yun yung mga following examples on how we reduce the dissonance level between our attitude and or between our action and beliefs. Okay? All right. So, that is the explanation of cognitive dissonance and how sometimes we change, okay, yung ating attitude or yung ating behavior para ma-reduce natin yung dissonance or inconsistency between our attitudes and between our action and beliefs. Okay. So, pag-aaralan natin dito yung mga major job attitudes. Okay, so we have thousands of attitudes, but in organizational behavior, we focus on a very limited number that form positive or negative evaluations that the employee holds about their work environment. Okay, so there are 5 major, actually tatlo yung sa OB, ano? There are 3 major job attitudes. Okay, we have job satisfaction, involvement, and organizational commitment. But we have to include also perceived organizational support and employee engagement. Okay. So pag sinasabi nating job satisfaction, okay, it is the feeling and perception of a worker regarding his or her work and how he or she feels well in an organization. So it indicates that the extent of employees' positive or negative feelings towards their jobs and organizational behavior tried to improve it. So in OB, job satisfaction is one of the the most researched variables in the area of workplace psychology and has been associated with numerous psychological issues. Okay, the changing world of work, organizational factors ranging from leadership to job design. So it is the level of contentment a person feels regarding his or her job. So these feelings mainly based on the individual's perception of satisfaction. So when people speak of employee attitudes, they usually mean job satisfaction, a positive feeling about a job resulting from an evaluation of its characteristics. A person with high job satisfaction holds positive feelings about the work, while a person with low satisfaction holds negative feelings. Okay? Because OB researchers gives job satisfaction high importance, we will review this attitude in details later. Another major job attitude is yung job involvement. Related to job satisfaction is job involvement. This is the degree to which people identify psychologically with their jobs and consider their perceived performance levels important to their self-worth. So employees with high job involvement strongly identify with and really care about the kind of work they do. Okay? So nakalagay dyan that if there is a high levels of job involvement, we will be seeing or it would result into fewer absences and lower resignation rates and even yung turnover and absenteeism. Okay? So, meron tayong tinatawag dito rin na psychological empowerment. This is the employee's beliefs regarding the degree to which they influence their work environment, their competencies, okay, the meaningfulness of the job, and their perceived autonomy. So research suggests that empowerment initiatives need to be tailored to desired behavioral outcomes. Okay, so another job attitude is yung organizational commitment. An employee with organizational commitment identifies with a particular organization and its goals and wishes to remain a member. Emotional attachment to an organization and belief in its values is the gold standard for employee commitment. Employees who are committed will be less likely to engage in work withdrawal even if they are dissatisfied because they have a sense of organizational loyalty or attachment. So even though they are not currently happy with their work, they are willing to make sacrifices for the organization if they are committed enough. Okay? So, yun. Another is yung perceived organizational support. This is the degree to which employees believe that the organization values their contributions and cares about their well-being. So people perceive the organizations as supportive when rewards are deemed fair, when employees have voice in decisions, and when they see their supervisors as supportive. And last major job attitude is yung employee engagement. So pag sinasabi natin employee engagement, this is an individual's involvement with, satisfaction with, and enthusiasm for the work he or she does. To evaluate engagement, sometimes we might ask employees whether they have access to resources and opportunities to learn new skills, whether they feel better or they feel their work is important and meaningful, whether their interactions and yeah, interactions with coworkers and supervisors are rewarding. So we fear that highly engaged employees have passion for their work and feel a deep connection to their companies. Disengaged employees have essentially check out, ibig sabihin resign. Okay, and they are also putting time but not energy or attention into their work. So those are the major job attitudes that we're going to discuss. Ano? But in here, we will be focusing on job satisfaction. So how do we measure employee attitude? So we have two. Dalawa yan eh. Okay? Kung paano nila measure yan. It could be through survey and observation. Okay. So, we measure employee attitude through attitude surveys. So, yung mga managers will present set of statements or questions to obtain specific information. Now, so the most studied job attitude is job satisfaction. Okay. So this is the most important and much studied attitudes in organizational behavior. One reason for the interest in job satisfaction is that whether an employee is satisfied with his or her job has significant consequences not only for the employee but also for co-employees, managers, and the organization as a whole. So employees' level or degree of job satisfaction can range from extreme satisfaction to extreme dissatisfaction. Okay? So we have here the some of the studies that shows that employees that are more satisfied are less likely to quit when their personal values are consistent with the organization and when they have positive attitude about work environment. So yung study ni Landy 1978 shows that yung mga job satisfaction can be linked to productivity, motivation, absenteeism, accidents, physical mental health, and even general life satisfaction. Okay. Yan, yung mga sinasabi ko kanina. So how do we measure job satisfaction? So pwedeng single global rating or pwede rin na summation of job facets. Okay. So pag sinasabi natin single global rating, so it's a response to one question such as all things considered, how satisfied are you with your job? Okay, so 1 to 5. Pero pag yung second method na, mas marami ng factor ito. Meron ng mga categories of job characteristic and even work environments. Now, the question is, what determines job satisfaction? Okay, number one is we have here mentally challenging work. Of course, when you are mentally challenged, ibig sabihin yan, when your work or when your job, okay, is giving you opportunity to use your skills and abilities, tapos merong variety of tasks, there is autonomy in how you perform your work, and you are provided feedback on how well you are doing, okay, mas nagiging satisfied daw yung ating, or na-increase yung level of satisfaction ng ating mga empleyado. Another is yung equitable rewards. Of course, di ba? When rewards are equitable, okay, when we are being paid, okay, justly, okay, and in line with expectation and also in line with our performance, we will be more satisfied. So when pay is seen as fair, okay, satisfaction is likely the result. Another is yung supportive working conditions. Okay, of course, this is a no-brainer. So when work environment gives personal comfort and it's helping us to facilitate in performing our job properly and accurately, we will have a higher level of job satisfaction. Number 4, supportive colleagues. Of course, if we have friendly and supportive co-workers, this could increase our job satisfaction. And also, if we have supportive managers or boss or supervisors, this is a major determinant of job satisfaction. And number 5, meron din yung tinatawag natin na personality job fit. Kahit na minsan mentally challenging, supportive colleagues, equitable pay and rewards. Okay? But if your personality does not fit to the job that you are doing, hindi mo talaga gusto yung ginagawa mo, normally it could have an impact dun sa level of job satisfaction mo. Okay? So when your personality is congruent with your chosen vocation, okay, you will be more likely to succeed in your job. And because of this success, sabi nito, there will be a greater probability of high or achieving higher satisfaction from your work. Number 6, it's in the genes or yung diba, disposition mo towards life. If you have positive disposition, normally, higher ang risk or higher ang chances na mas maganda yung level of job satisfaction mo compared to for those who have negative disposition or genetic makeup. Okay, so we have here a study of Society of Human Resource Management. Okay, in year 2017, kung ano ba yung greatest contributors to employee job satisfaction. Okay. Yan. So according to them, ito yung respectful treatment of all employees at all levels, compensation pay, overall, trust between employees and senior management, job security, and opportunities to use your skills and abilities in your work. Okay. So what is the effect of job satisfaction now on employee performance? Okay, number 1, we have here, it could affect yung performance ng empleyado, real. Okay? So sinasabi nila na as a general rule, happy workers are more likely to be productive workers, but not all the time. Okay? Ang nangyayari dito, based on evidence, okay, it suggests that productivity is likely to lead to satisfaction. Okay? So, ibig sabihin yan, kapag mas mataas daw yung job satisfaction, okay, you perform better. Okay? And organizations with more satisfied employees tend to be more effective than those with fewer. So, pag mas maganda ang level of performance mo, okay, mas mataas din yung level of job satisfaction. Number 2, we have here, satisfied employees would seem more likely to talk positively about the organization, help others, and go beyond the normal expectations in their job. Ito yung tinatawag natin na OCB. Okay? Ano ba ang organizational citizenship behavior? So, OCB, this includes talking positively about your organization, helping others, and going beyond the normal expectations in their job. So, evidence suggests job satisfaction is moderately correlated with OCB. So, people who are more satisfied with their jobs are more likely to engage in citizenship behavior. Mm-hmm. Another is job satisfaction can help also in customer satisfaction. Especially kapag yung organization na yan is a service organization. Okay. So it indicates that satisfied employees increase customer satisfaction and loyalty. Therefore, we could achieve customer retention and defection. So satisfied employees are more likely to be friendly, upbeat, and responsive. And alam mo naman, this kind of attitude of employees na appreciate yan ng mga customers. Another is job satisfaction and turnover. So satisfied employees are less likely to quit. Organization take actions to retain high performers and to weed out lower performers. Okay, another is yung job satisfaction and workplace deviance. So if employees don't like their work environment, they will respond somehow. Yeah, ipapakita nila yan. Kung ayaw nila sa organization, they will show you workplace deviance or negative workplace behavior such as yung substance abuse, stealing, tardiness, unionization, conflict, and the rest. Okay, ano ba yung mga workplace deviance? So we have here naman dito productive, property, political, and personal aggression. So this could be the possible na pwedeng gawin ng mga empleyado kapag hindi sila satisfied at kapag sila ay satisfied. So we have here Production deviance. No, oh, di ba? Leaving early. Ay, nako, mag-leave na ako ng maaga kasi hindi ako satisfied. Taking excessive breaks. Intentionally working slowly. Oy, ayaw mo naman, and wasting resources. We also have here property deviance, sabotaging equipment, accepting kickbacks, lying about hours work, stealing from the company. Oh. Okay, serious na yung mga yan. So we have here naman yung mga minor, tapos interpersonal and organizational. Political deviance, showing favoritism, gossiping about coworkers, blaming coworkers, and competing non-beneficially. Ito na, yung mga interpersonal, tapos serious type of workplace deviance, o sexual harassment, verbal abuse, stealing from coworkers, endangering coworkers. So, napaka-importante na we have a satisfied workforce. Okay, and last of the topic, the impact of satisfied and dissatisfied employees on the workplace. So, we have here 4 responses, okay, na pwedeng mangyari if there is dissatisfaction in the organization. Okay, so we have here exit, voice, neglect, and loyalty. So pag sinasabi natin exit and voice, this is an active, okay, and construct, or this is active responses to dissatisfaction. Okay, so we have here naman yung passive, neglect, and loyalty. Okay. So we have here exit. This exit response directs behavior towards leaving the organization, including looking for a new position as well as resigning. Okay? Another is yung voice. Voice is, para sa akin ito yung pinakamaganda na response. Because this includes actively and constructively attempting to improve conditions, including suggesting improvements, discussing problems with superiors, and undertaking some forms of union activity. Okay, so we have also here neglect. Ano itong neglect? Destructive ito, pero passive. Okay? Neglect means this neglect response possibly allows conditions to worsen. This includes chronic absenteeism, lateness, reduced effort, increased error rate, okay, using company time for personal business, mga ganon. Okay. Loyalty naman, ito yung passive and constructive part ng employee response to dissatisfaction. The loyalty response possibly but optimistically waiting for conditions to improve, including speaking up for the organization in the face of external criticisms and trusting the organization and its management to do the right thing. Okay. So these are some of the examples of mga actions towards responses to dissatisfaction. Okay, so summary. Okay, managers should be interested in their employees' attitudes because attitudes gives warning of potential problems and influence behavior. So, creating a satisfied workforce is hardly a guarantee of successful organizational performance, but evidence strongly suggests that whatever managers can do to improve employee attitudes will likely result in heightened organizational effectiveness. Okay? So the rest, pakibasa na lang yung mga summary. Right. Okay. So thank you for listening. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask, and hopefully I will be able to answer your questions or clarifications.